Hey, welcome back. In my previous video, we've talked about silhouettes and how they can be useful for ideation, and I thought I'd just go ahead and show you some examples of taking a fairly generic silhouette that has large, medium, and small shapes and making it a little bit more recognizable and unique. So right now we really can't tell much about this character. We know that they might have maybe a more broad shoulders perhaps, and that their frame is basically average. But using our lasso tool, what we can do is we can enhance this and give this character, a more distinguishable visual appearance. So let's start by activating the Freeform Lasso tool by hitting the L key. And let's just consider for a moment who we want this character to be. What kind of personality, what kind of profession, what kind of characteristics do we want to give to this character here? So maybe what we want to do is we want to make this character a cowboy, right? So how do we do that? Well, we can come back in with the lasso tool here, and we can add a fill that shows us a shirt. So I'm just using the lasso tool and creating the shape of a shirt. And what I can always do is I can cut things out, I can make edits. Let's say I want to give him a firearm. So now we're getting a sense of who this character is. And maybe he's wearing boots, so I can have the boots slightly overlap so that that reads. Maybe I'll have those stirrups at the bottom. So now we're starting to get a better sense of who this character is. We can come back in and tweak the fingers and the thumbs, make them a little bit more chunky. I'll just fill that whole space in. If we need to, we can come back in with a brush. Maybe I'll add a finger. And then we can do something with the head shape here. So we can say, all right, well, if this is a front view, let's give his head a more unique shape. Let's put something that would resemble maybe a bandana or something that's tied around his neck. We need a hat. And the beauty of this method here is that you can refine, tweak, add to your heart's content, and not have to worry about all these details. So now we've got a character that has a little bit more. We can ascertain something more about this character than we could just looking at him in a generic sense. So I've kept the same body shape, but now I've added some props. I've added some hint of clothing, right? We know that his clothes are a little bit more loose, and we have his, fingers and so forth. So let's do another one here too. So I'm going to take this guy and I'm just going to scale him down and move him off to the side, and I'll make another copy, Command J. If there's one thing that you should get from all of my videos, it's that I like to use Command J. Command J, the duplicate option, is so important. All right, so let's take another variation. So if the idea here is to make another cowboy, how can we push this design even more? What can we do to make this character even more visually interesting? Well, I can do a little chop shop here. I can take the back half of the body and I can cut, paste, and then move it down just to give him a little bit more of a wider stance, or a longer body. And then this time what we'll do is we'll give him a vest, and then we'll still have the shirt. And we'll add the gun, but we'll make the gun a little bit lower. And all I'm doing here is I'm making an enclosed selection and holding down the Shift key to add to that selection, and then I'm hitting Option Delete. So if this is your first video that you're watching from me, definitely go back and check out some of the earlier videos where we talk about using the lasso tool. And then finally we can get the boots. And then, you know, we want to get some hint of it. Let's say he's got a cowboy hat on. It's kind of hard to tell that just from the silhouette, because is that his head? Is that his hat? We really don't know. But what we could do is we could take that hat, give him a little bit more of a neck, right? And then we can add a little tear, right? So that way, at least we don't think that it's his head anymore. It kind of looks more, you know, more like a material, and we can push that. And maybe he's got a collar. Now, what do you do in a case where that is his hat, and you want to have some way of distinguishing, you know, the character a little bit more? Well, you can always come back in and subtract from your selection. So I can make a selection like this and hit Command X, Control X on a PC. And so that gives me some more information. I generally avoid doing that as much as possible, to be totally honest with you. I would find a way to make that silhouette a little bit more exciting, but I have seen some folks do this where they just block out just enough information. It's not like super detailed, but just enough to where people have a better visual handle on what's going on. But instead of doing it that way, I'm going to challenge myself here to find a way to make that silhouette more clear. So I'll move this hat over like so. I'll give a hint of a beard. You know what I'll do? I'll just go ahead and make the shape of a hat a little bit more like a hat. I'll exaggerate the shape of a hat, so that way there's no ambiguity. And we have that little tear. And so we can ascertain something about the personality. We still can't tell if this character is a good character or a bad character. So if we wanted to make this guy more of a bad guy, we can just maybe angle his features a little bit more, make them sharper. You know, give him more pointy edges, like we've got for his thumbs here. You know, we've talked about this in a previous video, but the idea of sharpening up features is a very subconscious clue to the audience that the character is actually a threat. So if I come back in and sharpen all of these areas up and use straight lines, that gives me some more of a sense of the fact that, you know, this character might be someone that we don't want to mess with. So I hope you found this video to be useful. This is definitely a great exercise to practice. You can always go from the silhouette and then build out a character using volumetric shapes. But I wanted to leave this here just to keep this short and action-packed, you know, just enough to where you can take a generic silhouette. So look at your drawings and turn them into silhouettes. Can you still read what the character, you know, who the character is and what the character does? You know, give us some defining clues in your silhouette studies. And if you can't tell who the character is just from the silhouette, then you've got to go ahead and you know, expand on your design. So I hope you found this video to be useful. Thanks again for watching. I will see you in the next one.